and good night. Thanks again for downloading the Body Snatchers podcast. And when you listen, stream, or download straight to your device, Castbox is your best option. Remember, if you like what you hear today, don't forget to subscribe and comment. So let's get started. Enjoy the show.
All right, guys. Good morning. Good night. Thank you for choosing the Body Snatchers podcast. Tino here, hanging out with Steven. Steven, what's going on?
I'm good. You see the backgrounds?
Yeah, we're playing with green screens today because why not? Why not? It's a special occasion. The Broly movie has finally come out. Frickin' Japan has had it for like a smooth 30, 45 days almost. I've been hating on that, but we finally got it, so I'm happy about that. And before we get started, if you guys are new to the show, please hit the subscribe button. Head over to bodysnatcherspodcast.com. Subscribe to our audio podcast. We're kind of new to YouTube, so don't judge us on our lower numbers. We're growing. But as far as the podcast is concerned, I mean, we're doing like, about 1,000 a week, Steven?
A lot, yeah. Pod being shot up, Spotify, Castbox, everything's going up.
It's there. So, I mean, if you're listening on the audio podcast, head over to youtube.com/
I told you people would listen.
Body Snatchers podcast, or just go to the website. I've got all the links on the website to try to make your life easy. We're on Twitter, Snapchat, all that fancy stuff. And yeah, also check out our Patreon account. Help keep the lights on. Maybe we can get some better green screens. Actually, no, I'm not in the market for spending any more money on green screens right now. We'll chill.
There's a science to this. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, little by little. Somebody went to college. It wasn't Steven.
So, I dropped out. Thanks.
Okay, well. This Broly movie, I don't even know where to begin. Like, it's definitely the best Dragon Ball movie to ever come out, I'd say. And I don't really feel bad about saying that. I've seen all of them a dozen times, and specifically the original Broly movies were just like terrible. Like, you liked Broly, but you knew the movies were trash.
At the time they were terrible, or did they just age wrong? There's a difference.
Both. I mean, even, at the time I first seen it as a kid, I remember, watching those three and being like, this is pretty cool. Broly's a fucking monster. But if you go back and watch it now, it's even worse than it was then. There's a lot of stuff where just like, man, the plot is terrible in the original movies, especially the first movie, which is the only movie I think that's like worth talking about. But it just right, it all goes downhill from there. But whatever. It's 2019. Technically, the movie dropped in 2018, and it's like they knew the error of their ways. Like, they actually corrected everything. And what's nuts is just how good it came together. Like, when you look at the first two Dragon Ball movies that came out since Super has done its thing, they kind of suck compared to this, no?
Yeah. Compared to this, because a lot of people seen the sub before it came to theaters, like you, and it infuriated me. But I avoided everything. But people weren't really talking about it, and I couldn't wonder why. Then it comes to the States, and me and you, we seen it a day after it came out in the States, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone was talking about it. Everything was awesome. I put up a poll on our Twitter, Body Snatchers PC, by the way. If people seen it once, twice, more than twice. And there's people that go to the theater more than twice. I mean, this thing in the box office did very good for an anime. And I can see it because the movie felt like it was a half an hour. But
I mean, it was solid, man. From the very beginning, they've ironed out the story. Like, what I always hated about the original Broly movies was, you had a good character, but he first off had this weird personal vendetta against Goku Kakarot.
Yeah.
Because they were both in like the little incubation chambers crying. Kakarot wouldn't stop crying, so Broly was pretty much a simpleton and was like, "Oh, I hate you." In this one, it made more sense because they made Broly barbaric, but not because he's just like simple, we'll say,
right.
like he is, but it's excusable. He's simple because he was raised on the planet that he was on, and it's just really savage. And the way they did his father was so much better, because when his father controlled Broly in the original movie, it was kind of weird. I don't know. He had like this weird mind control device. He had it on his hand, and he would hold it up, and like it would send these weird waves, and they had very little explanation for it. This one, they pretty much had a shock collar for Broly. And
yell at him like a dog. Hey, stop! Put it down.
Well, I mean, as simple as it is, though, it just made a lot more sense. It just didn't seem as goofy to me. Um,
Yeah, it didn't really dope him out. It just I'm surprised it didn't make him more enraged, but I guess it doesn't work like that either, to where it's shocking him and then it just pisses him off more.
I mean, well, I'm sure it does, but it would like the idea was to I got from it anyways was to kind of bring him back to his senses, so to speak, and that worked for me. Plus, there's like a lot of little nods that they didn't hear. So like Frieza, when Frieza comes down and they're explaining the backstory of the Saiyans and what happened with Broly. And before I even get into that, Jesus Christ, they did a good job. The origin story for the original Saiyans was always like kind of cool, like I kind of had like a badge of honor as a Dragon Ball fan for knowing it so well, but it was just never really done super great. They were always painted as being these like aggressively savage warriors, and nothing else, like just super savage. And I think that you can be a warrior race and not be 100% savage all the time. And they had a much more humanistic side, like you know what I mean? Like when
As
Bard,
opposed to what we know before, to where
yeah,
that they always flipped planets, right?
yeah, like
That's what the Saiyans did.
they were still warriors. They were still a very proud, race. They were strong. They were everything that we wanted them to be. But instead of just being like, like fight, kill, this is all we do. Uh, Goku's mother, for instance, when Frieza's shooting that blast down at the planet, she's in the kitchen, like cooking up like a nice meal, for her family, and looks out the window, and I was like, what the, you know what I mean? It's little things like that that it showed that she was scared, that she was just doing something that people Saiyans would normally do. Like she's got to cook dinner. Everything's not them running around breaking a coyote's neck with their bare hands and drinking the blood with no flame because they're savages. Like it gave you a better feel and helped me connect emotionally better to what was happening to them. Being captured by Frieza, or I should say King Cold, where they had to be submissive to his rule and flip planets for him
Right.
until Frieza came along and was like, "I'm gonna end all of that. We're done here. We're done. You freaking
And
monkey."
I liked how they took the time to explain a little bit of how everything got started, and they were telling you the story that you know probably 3 times over about how Planet Vegeta got blown up, but they give you different bits and pieces on it. It kind of felt like a Superman origin story. And it felt nice to be like, his dad wasn't just this awesome savage, and like you said, it wasn't just combat all day all night. There were actual people on that planet.
Well, yeah, and in the original, like Bardock gets into a confrontation fight with one of the planets that they're flipping, and in that attains the ability to see the future in the original, and he foresaw Frieza, coming to Planet Vegeta and doing everything that happened. And I'm kind of happy that they backed up off of that because it was just like extra and unnecessary. In this one, Bardock comes in and he's like, I just got a feeling that things aren't right. And not only that, Bardock himself, to me, like the way they've portrayed him in the more recent games, that Bardock lines up more so with the Bardock that we got in this movie, where like he just seemed like he was trying to do the right thing. The old Bardock reminded me of just kind of like how Vegeta came, like he was just a dick
Yeah,
the first time he came around, or when Raditz came around the first time, Nappa, all
yeah.
of them, like they just thought
I'm
their
a
shit
I'm a
didn't
I'm a
stink.
proud Saiyan warrior. I'm your father. I'm Bardock.
Yeah, listen
Ah,
to me or I'll kill you, like for real.
right.
And it's just not what we got this time around.
No,
And
I like it. It had a lot of depth in like a short period of time. You got attached to this character.
well, and there's little stuff that I question too. I don't know how well versed you are with the Saiyans and then Dragon Ball GT and all that, which I know is no longer canon, but I always like to see nods for what might be coming down the road. And when Frieza came, Frieza was just like, "Hey, I got these scouters. I'm gonna give these to all you guys. It's much better than oh, I forget the name of it. He said it's much better than the scout scopes." And the reason the scout scopes is important was because that was like the telescope tool that they used.
Right.
You remember that? And
I
that was the Saiyans acquired that when they destroyed the Tuffles. Do you remember the
Okay.
Tuffles?
No. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I do actually.
So the Tuffles were like a race that shared like some people say they shared a planet, and this
That's what taught Goku Instant
No,
transmutation, right? Or is
uh,
that other people?
no, no. That was the Edrets. The Tuffles were a race that the Saiyans destroyed, and they were like kind of like humans, sort of. Like they just had crazy, ridiculously awesome technology, and the Saiyans were waiting for a full moon to hit, and once it did, they all turned into apes and just totally annihilated this race. And in Dragon Ball GT, Baby is a Tuffle that survived due to reasons, comes back, takes over Vegeta's body, and basically wants to, wipe out the Saiyans and yada yada yada. But it was just kind of cool because to me it seemed like an indirect, nod to Dragon Ball GT. I don't know if they're, eventually down the line going to, build up further on that story, but we'll see. And another thing that I liked is when they were talking about, when Frieza was bringing up Super Saiyans, and Bardock, whatever word traveled, where they're talking to Bardock. I think he was speaking with his wife, and they're like, yeah, everybody's saying that Frieza is worried about the Saiyans, and the Super Saiyans, and Bardock's like that old wives' tale. But what was cool was in the midst of that conversation, what was going back and forth, they mentioned Super Saiyan, and they also mentioned Super Saiyan God, and that's
Hmm.
important because there's been just a lot of debate, we'll say, as to what they were talking about, because Toriyama, in the past, I think it was planning the Namek saga when they were going back and referencing the old Super Saiyans. They were talking about the Super Saiyan legendary this and that, and then in Dragon Ball Super they were referring to the Super Saiyan God, and a lot of people weren't really sure, like, okay, so is that referencing the Super Saiyan, or is that like two, is it the same thing?
Hmm.
But when they meant Super Saiyan, they really meant the Super Saiyan God. Like, apparently they're two different legends that exist in that universe. They're both canon, and that's the idea behind it. And I love that they did that because it just adds a lot of clarity for me, being somebody who really is interested in this fake lore.
And sometimes they do slip stuff in. Like I don't know if you've seen it on the Facebook page, the Body Snatchers podcast Facebook page. What do you know about Vegeta's brother? They mention him vaguely, like he was brought up somewhere else, and he's been brought up before.
His br-
Is there anything more to
well,
him than
well, because they mentioned him, he's canon.
just right then and there?
Yeah, because they mentioned him, he's now officially canon, which means they're probably going to bring him in down the line. Off the top of my head, I forget the name of that. I forget the name of that movie, but there's a movie where his brother is in there. Like, he's his brother married this like weird looking alien thing. So I can't say for sure if that movie is necessarily still canon, but the fact that his brother exists is pretty awesome, and I'm sure they're probably gonna either through the series or manga, whatever means, like they're gonna bring him in at some point.
If they were smart, they would, because I would eat that up.
I mean, they would. What was his name? I think it was Tarble. Yeah, it was
I
Tarble.
seen a picture in there, but it looked photoshopped. It was just like a skinny, scrawny little Saiyan.
He looks like a tiny Vegeta.
Yeah,
But
pretty much.
he's not very strong if they go off of the um movie and make that canon. So I hope that they do kind of update that. Like he really wasn't much of a fighter at all. I don't even think he had he couldn't even go like Super Saiyan or anything. Like he was real basic. So
Right.
we'll find out. What I did like though is that this movie does briefly mention Cooler.
Yeah, yeah. His
If you
brother.
if you caught that. So Cooler is probably hands down my favorite villain. Maybe next to Janemba. Yeah, whatever. But Cooler, I love Cooler. Cooler was just vicious, savage, and
It was a great movie too.
for what Cooler's movie?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Whenever he multiplied and he came down,
So you talking about the first movie, or you talking about the
the
second?
first one, the first
Okay,
one.
because the second one was kind of a weird concept too, with the Big Getty Star. Because I think Goku blasted him into the sun in the first one, and then due to the Big Getty Star and the supercomputer that's in there, a bunch of stuff nobody wants to hear about right now. But
Right.
he comes back. He's a freaking metal Cooler. He's basically like a cyborg robot type deal, and there's a whole army of them, and he pushes Goku to beat his
How
shit
about Golden Cooler from Dragon Ball Heroes?
in.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Continue.
they're doing well. That's none of that's canon, but I'm just curious to see if they're gonna save him for the next movie. I would imagine that the way that they set it up is they're gonna have Frieza run off like I just nothing I do I can't beat these fucking monkeys, and Frieza's gonna touch base, reconnect with his brother whom he hasn't talked to in forever, and that's probably how they're gonna bring him in. Frieza's gonna be like, hey, I came through with my big brother. let's make something happen. And they might laugh off Cooler as if he's garbage, like how King Cole was, but they'll probably find out that Cooler's been training this whole time, or whatever. Like they're gonna do something cool with it. I can't see them sleeping on Cooler anymore. And while it is a little bit irritating that they do keep recycling people from the past, as a fan of the franchise for over 20 years, it's like kind of cool to see them come back to life and get justice.
Yeah, and be done well. So let me ask you this. Let me put you on the spot because Super Saiyan 4 is probably everyone's favorite, transition of these Saiyans, including you, right?
I can't say it's everybody's. I love it. I liked it because it just made more sense than Super Saiyan God. Super Saiyan God and the Super Saiyan God like blue form has just been trashed to me. Aesthetically, it's very pleasing. Don't get me wrong. I love the way the transformation looks, but it just
They
doesn't.
just changed their hair and eyebrows though.
I mean, it looks cool, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Would you want them to implement something like that in these movies?
Something like
Them going a
what?
step further, Super Saiyan 4?
No. There's a lot of talk right now. And this, isn't necessarily the podcast for that, but basically they're saying that in the next manga and the next season of Dragon Ball Super to come out, due to reasons, Goku and Vegeta, which I know, but I don't know if they're concrete, so I don't want to send anybody off. Like it's just stuff I've read through the grapevine on forums for the last couple weeks. They're gonna lose their god forms,
Mhm.
and nobody knows what's going to happen with that. A lot of people are speculating that means that they're going to get Super Saiyan 4 as a transformation with this movie coming out. It's maybe a possibility, just because when Broly is transforming, they show glimpses of the Ozaru form. You see it in his eyes turn red, and they actually show a real fast flashes of the Ozaru the ape, and it looks cool as hell, and his power is enormous. It's not God Key, which makes it even better. He's not tapping into God Key and all that crap. Like it was all Saiyan 100%, and that made it great. And they even Paragus mentions, I think Frieza asked him, hey, is this like the extent of your son's power? And he's like, well, he's like, it's as if he's transformed into the Great Ape, but all that power is uh, stored inside his normal sized body. And I think that's a pretty good reference.
Yeah, it's just good old fashioned muscle, and I'm glad he went in on that. And the reason I asked you was because we see the fight with Broly, and they're using all their forms, all their colors. I think even one of them turned green. Um, I'm getting a little bit, watered down on these transitions. So if there was a way that they can just move back, take away all their god nonsense, and then move to 4, I think that would be ideal. I think that would be cool moving
Well,
forward.
I mean, my personal theory, because I've always felt that going in the direction of this God thing was a bad idea, just because it's going to back them into a corner. Dragon Ball Z has a lot of planet busters and stuff like that. But what happens when
Mhm.
you have this God key is you start making even more so, all the other Z fighters insanely useless. You
Well,
know,
they were smart because they made it different from regular key and God key. They said that there's an absolute difference because they tell you by saying I can't even sense his energy. So I like that part to where it's like it's coming from two different places.
still though, it's really confusing, because let's take the Kais for instance. The Kais, uh like Supreme Kai, he's a really strong dude in his own right, but in comparison to your Super Saiyan 2 level and up, he's nothing. And
Right.
the God form is supposed to be on an entirely new level, but Supreme Kai is a god who uses it. So just because Beerus is a god of destruction, I mean, doesn't necessarily mean that like his key would have to be different.
Right.
And is Supreme Kai's key not the same as Whis' key? It gets a little bit confusing, and there's a lot of different ways you can spin it. But that's why I was saying, they're backing themselves into a corner. So why not just let, God Key be this omnipotent but somewhat useful tool that they can tap into a small portion of? But
Right.
but take it away. I think taking it away is going to be great. I think
I
what the,
agree.
I think what the fans want to see is the Saiyans maybe, having fought Broly, realize, hey, this dude, yeah, maybe he's the legendary Super Saiyan or whatever, but we saw Kale do this similar transformation. Maybe we're doing something wrong. Maybe there's something, within us that we haven't tapped yet. And who knows? Maybe that will be, Super Saiyan 4, or I honestly don't think it will be. I don't think it'll be called that, but I think it might be a similar transformation. But honestly, look to it being more similar to what Broly's done. That's what I would say. And that's just my own
Well,
thought.
yeah. And I think it would be smart to go to Super Saiyan 4 because I think we've been waiting long enough to where they'd be able to do it justice now.
Facts. Now, getting back into the meat of this movie, the final showdown was so good. The animation was like breathtaking. Uh, you know, Gogeta. I mean, hell, even what led up to the Gogeta fight. Like, I loved Vegeta holding his own
Yeah,
against
definitely.
Broly. That was probably the best fight in the movie. Well, between Goku and Vegeta. Like, Goku got his shit pushed all the way in, but
And it
the way it was written, it kind of made sense that he did. I'm not trying to make an excuse for him, but Broly was like base form when he fought Vegeta, who slowly, he was learning and
yeah,
slowly pushing Vegeta into it, because Broly had only ever sparred with his father, who pushed him really hard. Look at the scars on him. He was beating his kid's ass. But
right.
Frieza even comments, he's like, if he's sparring with you, he might as well have been just doing nothing, because you ain't shit. You're wasting your time. There was a lot of shade there towards Paragus from Frieza.
They did a awesome pacing with it. Broly comes out, hits Vegeta, Vegeta smiling, swacking his shit away, both in base form. And then the more you go, the faster Broly gets and the stronger he gets. Vegeta's still talking shit and smiling at him. And each form that Vegeta jumps, he gets Broly, but then Broly bounces back. And the
Yep.
cool thing about this animation is you get like mid 90s animation sorta, and then it jumps right into a video game look-alike where it's like HD bright lights and all that. And
I'll give you
that
that.
that was it's just really like it doesn't get old when you're watching it. It's always going up. It's always showing you something new. You can go a second time and see this movie and you're going to see something new in these battles. It went so quick and so good.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Uh, but back to my point, he was Vegeta was pushing Broly. Broly climbed up to a new height, and Goku steps in. Now it's between Goku and him. What was irritating, but it kind of made sense since Goku is written to just be such a fucking idiot. Is he's like, okay, so Vegeta's, and you got to keep in mind they're pretty much equal in strength, loosely. Agree or disagree, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a fact. And as far as Goku and Vegeta, and Goku at this point probably should have at least jumped in at the Super Saiyan God form and then went up from there. But he starts in base form, and it doesn't go well. And by
It
the
doesn't
time
go well. He gets rocked quick.
by the time he gets to God form, Broly, and everybody's seen this trailer. It's been out. He grabs his fucking head and starts running and ripping his face through a mountain,
Dude,
and
it's very graphic. I mean,
it's
the one where
brutal.
he's grabbing his leg and he does that Hulk smash that Hulk did to Loki in the
Like with
Avengers.
Loki, yeah.
But he does it for 3 minutes, and he's just smacking him, and the camera's going around, and he's smacking him again, and he's switching legs, and
You,
he's throwing him
you
again.
just hear him screaming.
Yeah, dude, it was kind of uncomfortable to watch the way he's screaming.
Yeah, Vegeta's like, bro, did you bring any sensu beans? That's not something Vegeta typically says. And he's like, nah, I forgot him. He's like, motherfucker.
But something I really liked in this movie, probably my favorite thing, um, Vegeta and Goku, they don't like fighting together, and they had a whole thing to where they tried it, and then at the end they're like, "Well, we that's just our thing," and everyone agreed, and everyone laughed, and then it was Finn in one episode. But in this one, they were like, "All right, we got to do this," and they're like, "I don't want to," and they're like, "We got to," and then they're like, "All right, let's do it." And then the combos these two are putting off at the same time is nothing like the show. It's nothing like any movie I ever seen them in. It's just these combos are so fluent, like you would imagine. These guys are training and basically gods. How hard are they going to hit? How fast are they going to hit? How fast are they going to move? And
Well,
that's exactly what it looks like.
it's nice to see the animation for the fighting, because you can tell they really took their time with it. And honestly, um, they've been doing better throughout all of Super. Not to knock the original Dragon Ball Z. Obviously, we're all fans.
Hmm.
But I always felt that I'd say about 85-90% of the fighting was annoying, because what would happen is they would start moving so fast that they would be like flashing all around the screen, and you'd have
Hmm.
that, where they're going back and forth, and it was cool. But that's literally all they did until it would slow down, and there'd just be like one like gut punch or something like that.
Right?
And in this, somebody will, throw a right hook, and somebody will, slowly, grab their arm, and flip him over and hit him in the
Mhm.
rib cage. Like, it's just very technical, and they do it very, very fast, and that's what makes everything better in this series. If the fighting's better, then I don't need you to sit down and scream and yell for 5 minutes just so you can flash and scream all across the screen. Now I'm like, dude, fucking, I'm into this. Like, this is
Yeah,
good.
it was definitely choreographed, like, so well. You can tell that they were like, "All right, this movie has to be awesome. We're gonna make it awesome. We're gonna put in the work." And they did. They delivered.
Oh, they definitely did. And leading up to that Gogeta fight, uh, he transports. Goku takes him someplace safely. Over by Piccolo, I think, so they can kind of discuss, regroup, figure this out. They're taking an L, and Frieza. Boy, was this great watching Frieza get his shit pushed in. Frieza had to go into his golden form in order to hold his own against Broly, but it was just hilarious because, I mean, 1 hour went by. One
Yeah, I was
hour.
about to say, that's probably the part that I didn't really like I didn't really care for because they were gone for over an hour. They were probably gone for over an hour and a half because it was they're figuring out the dance. They messed up twice. They got to wait a half an hour to go back. That's a long time. So Frieza was getting beat up for like an hour and a half. Then Broly went to Whis, and
Broly didn't
you
touch
know,
Whis, but
no,
but still though, I think that's kind of funny. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Frieza kind of got what he deserved, so to
right,
speak.
right,
And
and
go
I'm
ahead.
I'm glad that they didn't make Frieza OP. Just that we didn't need it. Just let him do what he is. Frieza's a bum. He's lazy. Let him be lazy. I see it. Very good.
Said to make sure people know I was wearing my Goku black shirt.
But I am a big Frieza fan, so hopefully he comes out OP again sometime.
Nah, I think they're gonna do it with Cooler. I mean, they may give Frieza like a boost too. Maybe Frieza will train with Cooler. Maybe Cooler will show Frieza, the right way to transform. Maybe Cooler won't even, do his big form. Maybe they'll get rid of that, squash it, and he'll just turn golden but stronger like Frieza. There's a lot of ways it could go.
Right.
A lot of ways, and I'm anxious to see how it does and whether or not it's going to be in the series or if it's just going to come out as a movie. If it's a movie, expect a 2 year wait. We ain't going to see that shit till fucking 2021 or something, guaranteed.
Well, you never know. This movie did extremely well. They may get a taste of this, and now we might get one annually, or every
Eh,
15 months.
eh, we'll see.
You know, people like money.
The manga's really had a chance to get a lot further. So maybe they will. Because again, I've talked about it a million times on the show. The only reason Super started to suck and they had all these damn tournaments is because it was literally on par where they're going neck and neck, and there's key differences, I think, but still they had no breathing room, so they had to stop the show in order to actually write something out, catch it up. That's any um anime. Everybody was like, oh, they're gonna take it away forever. Come on, man. No,
Well,
they're making
remember
way too much money.
that's our difference. I do enjoy the tournaments, and you like people messing with the world, messing with people, messing with lives.
Well, I like the tournaments too, but to have, what was it, 3 tournaments like back to back? That was all of Super before it stopped. And that's kind of weak to me. That's a cop out, Give them a chance to write something that's just, better thought out. I know they can do it. And I strongly believe that that's what we're going to get this time around.
Yeah, well, the Goku Black art was pretty good. So
Yeah, I'll give you that.
yeah.
So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh yeah, hilarious stuff. So let's talk about them collecting the Dragon Balls in this movie. The humor in this movie was on point.
Was
With
that the same in the sub version? They said this.
for yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was the same. It was exactly the same for the sub and the dub. So yeah, with Bulma wanting to get all the Dragon Balls so she can make herself look younger. And of course, Goku's like, well, why would you only want to do 5 years? Why wouldn't you just do like 10? And she's like, because I want it to look like, it's very subtle. If I do 10 years, that's too much, which, leads you to believe, like, has she done this before? And then with Frieza speaking to, I think it was like his advisor. I forget the guy's name offhand. But, they're just like, well, Frieza, like, what do you want the Dragon Balls for? Are you going to wish for immortality? And Frieza's basically giving them all the reasons as to why immortality is trash. And, why would I want to be invincible? That takes the fun out of the game. And they're like, well, what do you want? And they're just like, he wants to make himself, what was it, like 5 centimeters taller?
5 inches.
No, it was 5 centimeters.
Oh.
So let's just round that to 2 inches. He was like, yeah, I want to
Yeah.
be 2 inches taller. And it's like, seriously, that's what we're doing this for? They're like, well, why not just make yourself, like a lot taller, or just transform into your form that's bigger? And Frieza just looks at him. He's like, because people will know. I need it to look like it's like I'm still growing. I don't know, man.
So
This movie was great.
so to your liking, Gogeta.
That's my favorite
He was
character. Always been my favorite character.
always been. So they did him justice in this one.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Um, like obviously, there's Vegito and there's Gogeta. For whatever reason, I've always just been a bigger fan of Gogeta. I like the name better. I liked his attacks better, which was why I like the Janemba movie so much. It's one of my favorite movies. I just hated that Janemba was such a damn simpleton.
Uh-huh.
I wish he would had a little bit more going on outside of like I've been created and I'm angry, and he just screamed a lot.
And which they did the same thing in this movie as they did in that movie, to where they do the dance, they try and fuse. Then you got the fat one, the skinny one, the old one.
Yeah,
Uh, that little move that Gogeta did, where he had it in his hand, and it was like every color you can think of, just spinning around, and
it
it
was,
was like the strongest blast you ever seen.
it was beautiful.
Has he ever done that before? Because I thought that was cool. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
this makes you think that he is so powerful to where he's making, you know,
So yeah,
orbs like this.
he's done all that stuff in the in the Janemba movie. What was one of the reasons he's one of my favorite characters is because back then, when fighting choreography was limited, very basic, they didn't do a lot of techniques and stuff. Like Gogeta, they were just really extra with him. Like he had very distinct moves, and it was just better than all the other movies at the time as far as like fight scenes were concerned. And I think they captured it perfectly and made it like infinitely better. Like I can't even tell you how you know they could top what they did with the way that he looked fighting. It was just awesome. As a
I
fan,
agree.
I got everything that I wanted out of that. And he was struggling against Broly. Um, but he came out on top and was definitely about to kill Broly. They, had made the wish with Shenron and had him transported back to his planet, last minute, saving his life. Uh, but with, Frieza tried to, destroy the spaceship where everybody was heading to go meet up with Broly. And they were like, no, grab his hand really fast and put it down. They're like, no, we're not doing that.
And Frieza's still OP because he looked over before Gogeta was even there. He's like, he knew he was there.
Yeah, he knew it was coming. Because Frieza's, I mean, he's weaker than these guys, but he ain't weak by any means. So we'll see what happens, man.
So this is a very good movie. This is our favorite out of any movie they ever made. The modifications they made with Broly, all of them are better. No yelling Kakarot. He's just a savage. He's loyal to his father, but he's a brute, and he's a powerful brute. And this movie paces so well. The action is unbelievable. It's pretty much everything you could ask for in a Dragon Ball Super movie. I mean, I haven't heard one complaint about it except for petty things. If you haven't seen it or you've been waiting, you got to see it. You're probably going to see it more than once, like the rest of us. So, are you happy with Broly the way they did him?
Me, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, they did very good. So we don't hate on everything. If you do good, we'll tell you you do good.
I'll give you that. Yeah, I mean, it was good. I'm looking forward to see the next one. And also, a small reminder, because you probably, well, maybe you didn't forget, but as far as all this talk about what they're going to do with Frieza in the next movie, or Cooler or whatever have you, I like that they brought up the fact that because Bulma had her rich ass, she bought a fucking island for Goku and Vegeta to train out in the middle of nowhere, so that cities and towns and stuff didn't have to potentially get destroyed. And
Right.
amidst all that, they're talking about training and pushing themselves and everything, and pretty much Vegeta brings up the fact that like I have to keep pushing myself because this asshole brought Frieza back to life. And I thought that was funny because it's somebody needs to bring that up, for like, because when he brought him back in the Tournament of Power.
Right, right. I would love a entire movie just Vegeta and Frieza working it out. I like to see Vegeta murderous and angry. I'd like to see Frieza strong and powerful.
Well,
That'd be a fight that I like.
Vegeta should have killed Frieza in the second movie. I think every fan agrees with that. Like, it was just stupid.
I was satisfied with it. The way it ended was a little bit plotty, but before the blast went off, I was pretty happy with that. And the series did it much better.
What with his Mr. Clean, Mr. Sparkle?
The fight between Frieza and Vegeta. I think it was like 3 episodes longer, and Vegeta mocked him at first, and then it got really dark, and then he got really brutal, and he was just beating the hell out of Frieza.
Well, whatever, man. We'll see what happens in the next one. I still think, this fight with Broly, they definitely made Vegeta look way more badass. It was awesome, but I still think that he deserves more. I'm tired of it being either Goku and Vegeta together win or Goku wins. Like, let Vegeta, get a win. That in that movie, Goku made a bad decision and took a L. That should have been the end of it, and Vegeta should have killed him.
Well, in my opinion, Goku got murked way worse than Vegeta in this one, so it was pretty good to see.
But Vegeta got robbed of his, finishing blow, and that's unfair. Like, why can't he have that?
Yeah, that is true.
So whatever. But we're pretty much at time here. So yeah, just like I said, diving into the movie, just talking about some likes, dislikes, theories, things of that nature. Again, if you guys are new to the channel, please support. Hit the subscribe button. We're not asking a lot from you. We appreciate it. For audio podcasts, head over to bodysnatcherspodcast.com. We're on Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter,
We're
Instagram.
everywhere. We made it a point to be everywhere. Everywhere you want to be.
Well,
can we trademark that slogan?
No, because it's false. We're not everywhere.
We're not on MySpace.
We're not on Tumblr. I like Tumblr.
Not anymore.
Yeah, how dare you get rid of nudes? If we can't be nude on Tumblr, then I don't want a part of it.
It's such a ghost town.
So, all right, guys. Well, have a good night. If you checked out the movie, tell us what you thought. And if you haven't checked it out, that's depressing. Message your boy. I got the webcam links. Later. Say bye, Steve.
Later, everybody. Bye.